Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I stand before you today with a message burning in my heart. Winners don't. Too many today want the crown without the cross, want the glory without the grind, want the reward without the responsibility. And yet the very essence of greatness is not found in how well you perform under praise, but how firmly you stand when no one is watching. How humbly you admit your own flaws without dragging someone else's name into the dirt to cover your own tracks. For winners don't play the blame game, they play the building game, brick by brick, mistake by mistake, until their life becomes a fortress. Fear is loud, oh yes it is. It screams through the headlines, it roars in the silence. It creeps into the cracks of our confidence and tells us we are not enough, not strong enough, not smart enough, not worthy enough. And if we listen long enough, we begin to believe that safety is found in shrinking, in hiding, in never stepping out, in playing small. But faith, real faith, speaks in a still small voice that doesn't need to shout, because truth never begs to be believed. It just is, and it says, I'm with you always, even to the end of the age. Faith is not blind. No, it sees more than fear ever could. It sees the unseen. It sees the promise in the middle of the problem. It sees the victory before the battle even starts. It sees the Red Sea parting when others only see water. It sees giants falling when others only see how tall they are. It sees a way where there is no way, because faith walks with the author, faith trusts the builder, faith follows the shepherd. And it doesn't need the full map to keep moving. It just needs the voice that says, and fear will paralyze you. It will freeze your feet when your future is calling. It will anchor your soul to yesterday's failures. It will convince you that the risk is too great, that the dream is too big, that the cost is too high. But faith says the cost of not moving is greater. Faith says the dream is God-sized for a reason. Faith says you were not born for comfort, you were born for calling. And the fire you walk through will not consume you, but refine you, not destroy you, but define you. There will be nights when fear wraps itself around your mind like chains, when doubt drums like thunder in your chest, when you feel like you are walking alone through the valley of shadow. But let me tell you, you are never alone. For faith reminds you that the one who spoke the stars into place walks beside you in the silence, stands with you in the trial. And while fear looks at the waves, faith keeps its eyes on the one who walks on them. And the moment you look to him, the storm may still rage, but you will no longer sink. You don't need to have perfect faith. You just need to have planted faith. Because even mustard seed faith can move mountains. Even trembling faith can take the first step. Even faith with shaking hands can still reach out and touch the hem of his garment. And when you do, healing flows. Peace rushes in, chains begin to fall, and everything the enemy meant for harm starts turning for your good. Not because you were fearless, but because you had enough faith to believe that the one who called you would not leave you. And I'm telling you now, fear will always try to have the last word. It will always knock on your door with statistics and scars and stories of failure. But faith doesn't answer the door with logic. It answers with truth. It answers with promises. It answers with the name that is above everything. And when fear sees that name, when fear hears that name, when fear feels the flame of that name burning in your bones, it has no choice but to flee, because perfect love casts out fear, and faith is rooted in that love. So today, make the choice, not once, but every hour if you must, to believe anyway, to stand anyway, to walk anyway, to speak anyway, to dream anyway, to build anyway, because fear will always give you a reason to stop. But faith will give you one reason to rise, and that one reason is enough. Because faith is not built on the absence of fear, it is built on the presence of God, and when he is with you, nothing, and I mean nothing, can stand against you. Discipline in the dark is the quiet war fought in silence, seen training behind closed doors. The early mornings when no alarm calls you, but purpose pulls you. The late nights when no one is clapping, but the call still echoes. And it is there, not on the stage, not on the stage, not in the spot. Not under the eyes of others, but in the solitude, in the stillness, in the secret places where no reward is immediate and no praise is promised, that true greatness is formed. Because what is built in the dark will shine in the light, but what is neglected in the dark will break under pressure. It is easy to show up when the cameras are on, when the crowd is near, when the applause is loud, but discipline is proven when no one notices, when your name is not called, when you're overlooked and underestimated, when your effort goes unseen, and yet you give it anyway. You sharpen the blade anyway, you dig the well anyway, not for validation, but for preparation, because you know that seasons change, that doors open, that moments come. And when they do, you will not be scrambling to catch up. You will be ready. The world celebrates the performance, but heaven watches the preparation. the sacred daily choices, the sacrifice when it's easier to quit, the integrity when compromise would be more comfortable, and the resolve to hold fast when everything in you wants to let go. Because discipline is not driven by mood or emotion or circumstance. It is anchored in conviction, and it refuses to be moved by temporary feeling when it is standing on a turn. You train in the dark, not because you enjoy obscurity, but because you understand that destiny demands depth. That purpose cannot be built on shallow ground. That character forged in private becomes the foundation for calling lived in public. And that God does his deepest work in the hidden places, in the soil of surrender, in the hours when it seems like nothing is changing, but everything inside you is growing, stretching, strengthening for the day you were called into the light. And make no mistake, there will be days when the darkness feels unbearable, when it feels like no one sees you, when the silence screams louder than any crowd ever could. But this is where discipline speaks back. This is where you show up anyway, pray anyway, write anyway, study anyway, serve anyway. Because the dark is not your prison, it is your proving ground, not your punishment, but your preparation. And if you can remain faithful in the hidden place, there will come a day when God reveals what he refines. Too many want the platform without the process, the influence without the inner work, but the truth is that the light will always expose what the dark reveals. And if you have not mastered your appetite, your pride, your pace in the secret place, the moment you step into visibility, all that you hid will rise. But if you have conquered in silence, if you have endured the breaking and still chosen obedience, then the light will not destroy you. It will confirm. Discipline in the dark means choosing the long road over the shortcut, the painful yes over the comfortable no, the slow build over the fast break, and knowing that every brick you lay in obscurity is not wasted. Every repetition, every rejection, every whispered, every hard decision to keep going when you could have walked away, it all counts, it all builds, it all matters, because the reward is not in what others say, the reward is in becoming who you were born to be. So rise early when no one claps, stay late when no one cares, give your best when no one's watching. It's something you wear when the world forgets you, because your calling is not validated by applause, it is rooted in obedience, and obedience always begins in the dark. Growth through trials is not the kind of lesson you learn in ease or luxury, or quiet days filled with comfort. No, it is the kind of wisdom that only takes root when the storm is loud, when the weight is heavy. When the path is rough and your knees are scraped and your heart is raw and you're holding on, not because you're strong, but because something inside you refuses to let go, because somewhere deep in your spirit, even in the tremor, you know that what is pressing you is not sent to destroy you. It is. There is something about pain that no sermon can teach, no book can explain, no theory can unwrap. Because pain is the fire where faith is purified, the pressure where purpose is uncovered, the dark night where your shallow dreams die and deeper ones are born. And while the world tells you to avoid discomfort, the word tells you to count it all joy when you face trials of many kinds, not because the pain feels good, but because you know that endurance is being built, and endurance gives birth to character. And character gives birth to hope that does not disappoint. The trial may look like a setback, but it is a setup for strength. And every time you choose not to give in to bitterness, not to bow to fear, not to be defined by the blow that hit you, but to rise again with wounded hands and a worshiping, you are growing in a way that cannot be measured by the eyes of men, because the roots are going deeper than the damage. The faith is stretching wider than the wound, and the oil being crushed out of you will one day heal someone else's brokenness. And don't you ever believe that your trial is wasted. Don't you ever let the enemy whisper that it was for nothing, because what you walk through today becomes wisdom for tomorrow. What you survive becomes strength for someone else. And when you come out of the fire, but when you will not come out empty, you will come out equipped, and the very thing that once looked like it would take you out will now be the story that builds others up. Trials teach you what comfort never can. They strip away the false and reveal the true. They remove the unnecessary. So what remains is unshakable. They force you to find your anchor in something deeper than circumstance, something stronger than applause, something eternal. And when all else falls away, when all you've built is tested by fire, what remains is faith that has been proven, trust that has been forged, and a voice that no longer speaks from theory but from testimony. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it's hard. Yes, there are days you want to quit. But I tell you, do not despise the breaking. Do not curse the valley. Because the God of the mountain is still God in the valley, and he is not absent in your affliction. He is present in your pain. He is near to the brokenhearted. He is refining, not rejecting. And what feels like a death is often a birthing. What feels like loss is often a leading. What feels like abandonment is often the beginning of an anointing. So endure, not as a victim, but as a vessel. Endure, not just to survive, but to be transformed. Because every tear you've sown will reap a harvest of joy. And though weeping may endure for a night, joy, unspeakable, immovable resurrection joy, is coming in the morning, not because the trial is over, but because the trial has done its work, and what came to crush you only caused you to rise stronger, wiser, and more grounded than ever before. And one day you'll look back, not with bitterness, but with gratitude, not because the pain was pleasant, but because it was purposeful, and you'll say, if it had not been for the trial, I would not have known this strength. I would not have learned this trust. I would not have walked in. So rise now, not with reasons, but with resolve, not with permission, but with purpose, not with polished plans, but with a willing heart, because every excuse silenced becomes a stone laid in the foundation of your future, and every act of obedience becomes a seed in the ground. So lift your head even in the storm. Lift your eyes even through the tears. Lift your hands even while you're waiting, because vision is not dependent on light to see. It shines from within, and while circumstance may delay your progress, it cannot deny your promise in every step you take in faith. Every yes you whisper through the fear, every act of obedience when quitting looks easier, is a declaration that says, I will not let this season steal my sight. And one day you'll look back and realize that the vision didn't just survive the circumstance, it outlasted it, it outgrew it, it outshouted it. Because vision rooted in calling always prevails, always wins, not because the road was easy, but because the resolve was holy. And those who live by vision will always go further than those who live by sight. Because when the dust settles and the storm clears, it will not be the circumstance that wrote your story. It will be the vision that carried you through.